What the Tech is brought to you by Hover. Find a domain name for your idea. Go to hover.com/WTT and get 10% off your first purchase. Again, that's hover.com/WTT. Hover, domain names for your ideas.
What the Tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, my best friend, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
We've spent a lot of time together this week.
Yep.
We got very close, very intimate evenings with us. Actually, afternoons. You interviewed me on Tuesday for First Ring Daily. You're doing a series this week on First Ring Daily where you're interviewing the team at therot.com, and
that's right.
I don't know if many people know this, but I'm part of the team at therot.com. I am a producer. Can I give myself a cool title?
You know, like when a team has a like a manager?
Yeah.
And he's like a local kid who can't, he's not going to play the sport, but he kind of likes to hang around the team.
That's me. Yeah. I like to hang around. That's what I'm doing. I want a cool title, like Director of Live Interactive Media at therot.com. That is my new title. Sunkest and I actually produce First Ring Daily for you guys, and you're doing a series this week because Brad is away. He's at Disney. And you're doing a series where you're interviewing key players at therot.com. You had Tina on Monday. You had me on. Mary Jo Foley, the latest addition to the Petrie family. Petrie. I'm right. I do that every time. Mary Jo Foley's now part of the team. And today you were supposed to have George on, the big boss man. And he cannot make it today, so he's going to
George is the boss, so he gets to say no.
He gets to say no to whatever he wants.
No,
he's my boss. He's your boss.
Yeah.
So technically, the BWW family, yes, that is technically what it is. So you're interviewing tomorrow. Tim is on for the live show. So you're doing this whole series. So today you interviewed me on Tuesday, and then I subbed in today, and I interviewed you. So for people who are interested,
we're running out of ways to do this.
Well, I do want to give this a little plug. The two best interviews I've ever done. Seriously.
Yep.
Actually three. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Awesome.
Paul Thurrott, and my all-time favorite, I don't care. I could interview so many people, and I've interviewed so many of these wrestlers for the wrestling thing. Mary Jo Foley is my favorite interview I've ever done.
So what is it about Mary Jo Foley that made that one?
I'm going to tell you something. It was, I didn't know Mary Jo that well at that point. We knew each other from the meetups and we became friendly, but I didn't really know anything about her past. And she was a little nervous when she came in. She's like, "What are we talking about?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out." She goes, "What do you mean?"
We're talking about you.
I'm like, "We're talking about you." She goes, "What about?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'll figure it out when I'm going on." And she brought beer. We were drinking beer, and I started talking to her, and it just clicked. And I was so interested in her story where she was going to be a chef.
Yes.
That was the most, and again, we were talking about this today.
She's a pretty incredible person.
Unbelievable.
Really.
If you guys, I got to find the interview. I don't know where I had posted it. I think it's on GFQ Network. Sunkest, if you're watching, if you could post that interview, it would be great.
Sunkest, if you could just do something, please. That'd be great.
Poor guy. He's killing himself here working for me.
Yeah.
So I still stand by that. Mary Jo Foley, and you guys should tell her, is my favorite interview of all time that I've ever done.
Yeah. That's great.
It was just something about it. It really clicked, and I got so much positive feedback. So I hope I get the same about your interview today because I interviewed you. Go to therot.com, guys.
Dude, I'm terrible. I have these long-winded, stupid stories that no one's going to care about.
No, it's phenomenal. Go to therot.com. It's available. Are these exclusive to premium members, or you opened it up this week?
The interview. The First Ring Daily interviews kind of things. Those are going to, I actually did it by mistake originally, but when confronted by this fact, I realized that's probably the right thing to do because I've been talking about kind of introducing people in the team. I always thought I'd do it with writing, but so they're available. Actually, this week's shows are available to everybody. I made that executive decision. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for that.
No, I love it. I think it's a great idea actually because it introduces you to the family, which is It's something similar, you guys, a culture you guys have on Thurrott, and the whole family. And
Right.
GFQ, we're all a family where everybody intertwines and connects. So it's awesome. Go there, therot.com, check it out. We do have a lot to talk about today, a lot of exciting stuff. I'm going to be talking about a product called the Sense that is being sent to me as we speak that I'm going to be installing in my house. I want to talk about that and the smarter home. That's the segment I want to do. But before we go into everything that we're going to talk about, I want to thank a returning friend of the show, and that's hover.com. Hover.com/WTT. You get 10% off your first purchase. Now, I have been using Hover. I have a list in front of me here to talk about Pinpoint, but I don't even have to look at it because I have spoken to you guys about Hover for years now. I buy all my domain names from Hover, and the cool thing about them is that you go to buy a domain name from a lot of these other places, and it is upsell galore. You click on one thing, and then there's another pop-up, and do you want a who is privacy thing, and do you want this, or do you want that? It becomes so convoluted by the time you're checking out. Not only did you spend twice as much on the domain name than you had intended, you don't know what you really bought, and you don't know if it was necessary. Hover does not do that. It's easy breezy. All you do, you could buy your domain or your email address. You shouldn't have to opt out of pages. And click on add-ons. It becomes so convoluted. Hover does unbelievable stuff there. Over 400 domain extensions. You could get everything from the classics like .com to .net, or the niche extensions like .design and .tech, or how about .pizza? I've given up bread for Lent because I'm a good Catholic boy, Paul. I don't know if you know that. I've given up bread for Lent.
Nice.
So now I've actually given it up for dietary reasons, but you got a .pizza, which is making me very hungry right now, or a .horse or a .ninja. They have an unbelievable list of domain names that you could buy, extensions that you could buy, and their customer service is top of its class. I have called them so many times. I actually have a great story. I had to transfer a domain name to a well-known podcaster that Paul might know, actually. A friend of yours. You do a show with him on Wednesdays?
Oh,
I had a domain name that they could have used, so I had to I emailed them and I said, "Listen, I have this domain name. I just want to hand it over to you guys." And I went on hover.com. I went in the chat, the support chat, so I didn't even have to call anyone. I told them what I'm trying to do. I told them the person's name that I'm transferring it to, and all they did was give us a code, and it was 1, 2, 3, easy breezy, done. This is how good this company is. I only buy my domain names from Hover, and so should you. Hover.com/WTT and get 10% off your first purchase. I am so proud of this company, and since 2010, they have done so much. We've worked with them since 2010, which is so long ago now, 7 years, and it's unbelievable. And I know a lot of you guys buy your domain names from them, and you should continue buying your domain names. Hover.com/WTT, get 10% off your first purchase. I want to thank Hover for supporting the show. Paul, where do you want to begin today?
Wow.
There's a lot of news here.
Yeah, actually, it's been you were asking why I wrote so many articles yesterday, whatever. I mean, it's been kind of a crazy, busy week.
Let's see.
Start wherever you want.
Okay, let's talk about, a lot of people are interested. Project Scorpio. Some news coming in from this week.
Yeah. So last summer at E3, Microsoft announced the Xbox One S, right, which they subsequently delivered in August. And then they announced the Scorpio, Project Scorpio, which is the next generation Xbox One. There were a bunch of promises made at the time, but the big ones are true 4K gaming, right, which we'll have to wait and see on, but they're still talking about that. And the other one was what they called a high-fidelity VR experience. But they never really explained what that was. And by the way, they still haven't explained it, but I have a theory now about this that I've kind of evolved over time. So that happened, and that was pretty much the end of that. They've mentioned Scorpio from time to time. There isn't much news there other than to say that they have never backed off from their claim that this thing will do true 4K gaming, unlike, say, the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is, not really 4K, but sometimes 4K.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, occasionally 4K. Okay. But a couple of related things happened in the interim. So in October, Microsoft announced the Creators Update for Windows 10 for PCs. And at the time, they talked about VR headsets and about bringing the Windows holographic platform to computers. In December, they kind of updated the language, and they started talking about something called mixed reality, which is basically virtual reality or VR plus what they used to call augmented reality or holographic.
So now the term is mixed reality.
Now the term is mixed reality, and it's a good, it's a pretty good term in the sense that it's, when you put on a VR headset, you don't see the outside world. Like you're just looking in, a virtual display. With something like the HoloLens or what used to be called an augmented reality display, it's glasses. So you're looking out into the world. You see the room, but what it does is project other things into your view space, and it augments your real reality. Now they're calling it mixed reality. So in other words, the same technology, but the idea is you're seeing the outside world and you're seeing some virtual display.
Like these, like a display like this?
Sort of,
although
it's not. Yeah, it's not clear. I mean, that is a mixed reality headset.
It is? Okay.
It is, yeah. So in the context of the mixed, what we're now calling mixed reality, what they were still calling Windows holographic back in December, but let's just call it mixed reality, was that Microsoft is going to market, as they do in so many cases, with partners. And so they're not going to make these mixed reality headsets. HP, Dell, Lenovo, Asus, and several other companies are going to make them, just like with PCs. Okay. So now it's February, and the Game Developer Conference is happening this week, and they're going to start seeding developers with developer kits. That's what you saw there. The Acer mixed reality headset is the one they're giving out to developers, and they'll come out to the public sometime later this year. But if you go back to December when they were first talking about this stuff in the context of developers, in the context of mixed reality and so forth, I thought, this is what they're going to do for Project Scorpio. Clearly, Project Scorpio is an Xbox One console. The Xbox One is based on Windows 10. Windows 10 is getting these mixed reality headsets. Clearly, this is the VR solution that they were talking about. In other words, Project Scorpio isn't going to come with VR, like a headset. You're going to buy the console, and it will have a controller probably, and that'll probably be the extent of it. And then you'll be able to add a headset to it, and that headset will be any of these Windows mixed reality headsets made by a variety of companies at a variety of price points and at a variety of functional levels as well. Like some of them will be pretty basic, and some of them will be maybe a little more impressive. The thing is, Microsoft has never actually said that, right?
So who has?
No, I have.
Okay.
So in other words, I'm bringing the pieces together. Now, I'm assuming, or deducing that this is the case, but it just makes too much sense. In other words, sometime this year, Microsoft's partners are going to ship mixed reality headsets for Windows 10 into the market. You'll be able to use them with your computer. And when Project Scorpio comes out, I believe you'll be able to use them with that console as well. As that console ships, what you'll be using them for is VR, not MR, not mixed reality, just VR. Like those capabilities will be available in the console on day one. What Microsoft said this week was, we're going to deliver the Windows mixed reality experience to Scorpio, and by the way, also to Xbox One S, the other Xbox Ones, in 2018. So you'll be able to do mixed reality experiences with these headsets on a Windows 10 computer this year. You'll be able to do VR. You'll be able to do VR on a Project Scorpio console this year. And then via a coming software update for the Scorpio, you'll be able to do mixed reality, or MR, as well as VR in 2018. So I think that's the schedule.
The mixed reality is what's really interesting to me.
Yes.
That I'm curious to see how they incorporate it. But now with these VR headsets, right? Yeah. We're talking, like you mentioned, you're going to have ones that are more pricier than other ones, right? Because everybody's going to make them. I'm curious to see how the experience of VR is going to differ from headset to headset, or augmented reality, or whatever, mixed reality, whatever they're calling it. I'm curious to see, based on, let's say you get an Acer headset or whatever headset, what's the experience going to be, and how is Microsoft going to control what the experience is like? Because once again, nobody's going to blame Acer for having a crappy one. They're going to say, oh, this doesn't work.
So I can only assume or guess right at this point, but my bet is that the first generation of devices will in fact be basically the same. There's going to have to be some differentiation, I know, but I think they'll basically be the same. Because the Scorpio especially is a fixed console, like it's a thing. Like it's never going to. Well, I shouldn't say never. These things are changing, but the console itself is probably just whatever it is, whatever capabilities it has. And so I would imagine that the combination of a mixed reality headset and a Scorpio will result in some experience that won't vary by headset, especially when it's just VR. In the future, there'll be new generation mixed reality headsets that will bring the capabilities closer to what we see today in HoloLens, which is actually fairly incredible for what it does. And we may see different Xbox consoles too, but without worrying about that, the one thing we will see right up front though is that I have a really fast computer here. If I put a mixed reality headset on it, I'll have some experience, whatever it might be. If I put that same headset on a lower end computer, I'm not going to get the same level of quality because that computer just doesn't have the horsepower to drive, say, the resolution or whatever features are going to be available. So even this year, you're going to see some range of functionality, even if every one of those headsets is exactly the same.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I mean, this is the early days, obviously, but I'm not crazy about the current state of VR. I just, for me, I know some people love it, but currently it's very, very early days. But I don't even think it's going to be the end game here. I think the augmented reality in a mixed environment, the mixed reality, is going to be kind of the future of this.
Yes. It has a long way to go, but there are certain technologies. It's funny. I just wrote about this with regards to personal digital assistants, or digital personal assistants, I guess I should call them. Those things are early days too, right? And there's artificial intelligence and machine learning and cloud service integration stuff kind of going on there. So if you think about something really basic like Siri, what's the weather out? And she says, it's where you are right now, it's raining, it's kind of basic, but it's getting better and better. With Cortana, you can actually have mini conversations, assuming you drive the conversation in the right way. You could do one word wrong, and I don't understand that, and it all comes crashing to a halt. But that's what this technology is like when it starts. If you think about your experience with other technologies like smartphones or whatever, I mean, or look at the graphics in a video game today and compare it to one from say 10 or 15 years ago. You can see how things can improve over time. And so I think right now the concern is getting the basics right. And I mean, the first gen experience is not going to be great. If you pick up a mixed reality headset this year with Windows, there's probably not going to be that many apps. They may not be that exciting, whatever, but
we'll give it a year or two.
But you know what? There are truly impressive VR experiences to be had. Just VR, semi non-interactive or slightly interactive experiences like you can have with Google Cardboard, or interactive experiences you can have with Google Daydream, which, compared to like 4K gaming, are not particularly high resolution or high quality visually. But I think I've talked about this before. I mean, some of that stuff is truly impressive.
Yeah.
And I know that there are people out there who are saying, I'm never going to need this. I'm never going to want it. This is stupid. I don't, whatever it is. And this is the same argument that people said against having a touchscreen laptop.
Yeah.
I'm never going to need that. You know what? I'm not saying you need it, but it's not as useless as you think it is. And you may find yourself happily using it one day.
Paul, it really comes down to what you're comfortable using. And I have to tell you, I personally, I don't have a need for touchscreen laptops. I don't like touching my screen. But I'm going to tell you something. My kid is 1 year old, and you know what she does?
Yeah. Sure, touches
she
everything.
Goes to touch the screen. She goes to scroll on the screen. It's just part of computing now. This is how we use
and when the screen
things.
Doesn't work that way, she's probably confused.
She's very confused, yeah.
But even for me, like, I'm old. I mean, I'm 50 years old, so if I can adapt to this thing like anybody can. I mean, I don't consider touch on a laptop to be necessary. That said, I find myself using it if I'm reading, for especially, it's a very natural way to kind of interact with it. It doesn't replace anything. I think that's the important thing, is you can do all this stuff regardless. There's going to be, I almost said holographic. It's going to be hard to get off of that name because Microsoft just changed the name. It's not called Windows Holographic. It's called Windows Mixed Reality.
Mixed Reality, yeah.
You as a developer could write applications that run on Windows 10 on PCs or tablets that run in mixed reality, right? That run on phones, even that run whatever. I mean, there's all these different possibilities, and so there are going to be experiences, and I'm not going to be able to give you an example one because I'm just not that imaginative, but there are going to be these apps basically that could run in or out of this environment. And when you're in mixed reality, they'll do additional things that might be really compelling.
Yeah.
And yet it might also be nice to have access to that app or whatever it does in situations where you're not around the headset. You know, maybe you're on a train or a plane or out in the world or whatever.
It's very, very interesting. So you were mentioning developers, and I wanted to touch on this. Microsoft is opening up how developers publish to the Xbox.
Yeah. So I had to talk to Raphael about this last night because I have a really hard time understanding how this works.
So I read two different stories. One was it's not really that much different because it's still going to cost the developer a bunch of money.
Well, actually, it's significantly different.
Okay.
In one main way. Microsoft has had various programs in place over time, like ID at Xbox, or there was an XNA Creators Club or something, whatever it was called. But you know, they've reached out in kind of minor ways over the years to bring non-professional or enthusiast developers into the fold and allow them in some way to target Xbox. When the Xbox One came out, you as an individual could put your Xbox in developer mode and use Visual Studio on your PC and make your apps or your games, and you could put them on your own Xbox, but you didn't really have a way to get them into the store, right? So that itself is kind of a big step. Back in the original Xbox days, certainly, and then Xbox 360, you had to have a special console that Microsoft would give you or sell to you that would work that way. Xbox One is based on Windows 10. It's uses the same universal Windows platform, APIs, and so forth. And it is possible as an individual before yesterday, to create, like I was talking about, holographic apps or desktop apps or whatever. Xbox is one of the targets too. So maybe you have like a weather app, right? And so you can picture a weather app could be on your phone, it could be on your tablet, it could be on your PC. If you have a headset with mixed reality capabilities attached to it, it could work in there. And maybe in that case, it's like this real 3D effect or whatever, you know, and it's just a little different. It could work on your Xbox. And that's cool. But of course, the holy grail is games, right? And so the ability for any developer to publish a game to the store, but it still has to meet certain requirements, obviously, because you can't just put crap there. Like, you know, obviously they still certify it and all that kind of stuff. Is in many ways really profound, right? And so the thing that they just announced, it's not really Xbox One, but it really is Xbox One, right? But the point of it is they've opened up really Xbox Live. So those capabilities, you as a developer can make a game of any kind, and there's all these gaming libraries out there for people to use that, you know, are different engines and different libraries and so forth. So you make a game, and it's a side scroller, it's a first person shooter, it's a goofy little, you know, 2D, it doesn't matter, whatever it is.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Now, because of this change, what you can do is add Xbox Live achievements to it. You can add, you know, all the Xbox Live features. That's what was opened up. That's huge. To do that before, you would have to make a proposal to Microsoft and say, "Hi, I'm Paul. I'd really like to use Xbox Live in my game. This is my game idea. This is what I think it's going to look like." And they would say, "That's nice, Paul. You've never published a game before, or the games you have published are terrible, or whatever it is. We're not going to do this." So your choice then is to make the game, to come back to Microsoft and say, "Okay, hi, it's Paul again. I made the game. I would like to add Xbox Live capabilities to it." And then they would say, "Nope, sorry. You're not EA. You're not Activision. You're not, you know, these guys we're used to dealing with." At that point, you could attempt to publish it not to the Xbox, to Windows, as a non-Xbox Live game. You know, and there are a bunch of those, right? And they vary in quality. Some of them are actually pretty good, and some of them are, really crazy crappy. But you could not do Xbox Live, and that's in the Xbox world, the Windows 10 world. That's the holy grail.
Yeah,
you know, that's when you become big time.
I saw what you had posted, which is exactly what you said, and then I had read another article that was kind of saying like, well, it's not so much different, and it's not that open. They've just opened up the Xbox Live feature where you could now
Well,
incorporate.
no, but you can't say they just opened up. Like they
But
opened up
that's
Xbox
how
Live.
that's how it was written.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is that is
Yeah.
why that they're wrong.
Yeah.
So them opening up Xbox Live is the big deal.
Oh,
Now,
that's a
if you're
huge
saying,
deal. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I said, it's the Holy Grail. So this is the final step in opening up this platform. They had little inroads before. It got better with Xbox One, and now it's just open. So if anyone from one guy to big teams to established developers to newcomers, whatever, they can now have a shot at getting these games in. And of course, it behooves these guys, especially the people who are not big and famous and well established, to make games that will run on both platforms.
So here's
right?
a question
Not
for you.
just
So
Xbox.
if I want to develop an app for us, right, for the show, for
Yeah.
GFQ, what is the process that I go through? What is the step by step that I would have to go through?
So I've not actually done this, but I used to, well, actually, I'm probably still a part of it. They used to charge for this. I used to pay for this privilege. I was never going to publish a game,
It's
but I
not
really
cheap
liked it.
though. It's not.
It's $99 a year.
Oh, is
or, no,
it?
I'm sorry.
No.
Actually, it's free. It's free now. It used to be $99.
Well,
Now it's just free.
I was reading that it's a couple grand.
I think no, I don't know about the Xbox specifically. I don't believe so. It's just part of Windows now. So
Okay. Oh, maybe. Oh, well, you know what? The old way was like that. Yeah.
yeah, the old way was very
Very
expensive.
expensive.
It used to be, and it's gotten progressively less expensive, but it's always been expensive.
Yeah.
No, I believe, and maybe I'm missing a part of the story, but I believe the system is. I mean, you still have to go through Microsoft, right? You can't just put it in the store. You don't get that as an individual. Anyone, no one does. I mean, not even EA does. But it has to meet requirements. Xbox Live is a service that Microsoft delivers. You can't usurp its capabilities. You can't bypass things. Like, they have to make sure your game is certified as being safe and reliable and all that stuff. But that's true of any app store. I mean, it's an app store as submission. It's the same basically as submitting an app to Apple, submitting an app to Google, whatever. But now your opportunities are open up, because before you could do that for an app, like a weather app. Not that anybody wants a weather app. Now you can do it for a game of any kind.
Yeah.
And so you've got the 20-something million Xbox Ones out there. You've got the 400-something million Windows 10 computers out there, and that's your target audience. It's pretty good.
It is pretty good. Guys, if anybody wants to develop a GFQ app for the Xbox, because I get asked all the time, please, I would love you to do this.
Ideally, what that app would be an app that ran across all those platforms I mentioned.
Yeah, I think someone had done one actually for us years ago, but I don't know. I've totally lost.
No, but what
touch.
you want now is a universal Windows platform app.
That's available on everything.
What you might want in the future for the 7 people that would use it would be a VR or MR experience for the game as well, or for the app, so
you could see us in your living room.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one possibility. It would be a little goofy. It would probably, because we are by nature sending a rectangle. So if you ever do this on any VR platform today, there are video viewers, like there's a YouTube viewer or a Google Play, whatever it's called, viewer. Basically what you're presented with in those cases is some virtual environment, because remember, it's VR, so you're not seeing the outside world. It looks like a cartoon. But then on the wall of this fake bedroom or whatever, there'll be like a screen hanging there, and we're in the screen, right? And so that's the most basic way.
You know what I was thinking?
That.
I got a great idea. Right. We go to the Microsoft store.
Mm-hmm.
We do something with them where we do the first augmented reality podcast.
I like it.
The whole show, the whole set, everything. We're in your freaking living room. That's not a bad idea.
Well, actually. The other way to do it would be, let me think about this. If we filmed it in front of a green screen, it could look like we're always at the Microsoft store. And you could also change the backdrops so that we could be doing it from a beach. We could be doing it from a park bench somewhere. We could be doing it from a...
We just sit next to each other. That's how we'll do it. Just like
at the bus,
at the DMV.
By the way, right. And there's actually no reason why that wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how
people will do this. There's no doubt
it's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Guys, we do have a lot to talk about, but I do want to remind everybody, we also do a bonus show here. If you go to patreon.com/whatthetech, you get access to all this bonus stuff that we do. We're going to be recording one right after the show. All you have to do is fund us as little as $1 per episode. And you get access to the bonus material, and it keeps us chugging along here. Every time we need to do an update or an upgrade or something breaks, guess what's paying for it? The Patreon money. Patreon.com/whatthetech. Go there, fund us, and help us out. Let me see. I want to get your opinion on the Dell XPS 15. I know you've been using it for a little bit. You used it today when you recorded First Ring Daily.
Yeah, I have so many laptops in right now. I'm having a hard time.
I'm really genuinely curious about this because this is
the
bigger version of the Dell XPS 13.
Right.
And it's bezel-less, right? Or very thin bezel.
It's got a very thin bezel on 3 sides. That's true. The 3 outer sides, right? Which is kind of, I guess, what most people would want. I think Dell makes a mistake by putting the camera on the bottom. They still do that. I'd rather see the top have a slightly bigger bezel and a camera up there, frankly. But okay. So they've gotten so many complaints about it that at CES, when they start talking about it, the first thing they say is, yeah, the camera's still on the bottom, so let's get past that. And then they kind of talk about it. 2 things about the XPS or Dell in general. 3 years ago-ish, or whenever that was, when we did a home swap in Lyon, and I had a Dell XPS 13 that I brought with me. My intent was to use it during that trip. And the wireless was so bad, and it was something I witnessed I had a business trip right before that where the wireless wasn't working correctly. And it was not compatible basically with the router that these people had in their home. And so I had to use whatever other laptop, I don't know what I had, a Surface or something. And I've always had that thing in the back of my head. I remember after that model, they supposedly completely revamped the wireless in the device and fixed that. And I didn't use the next 2 generations of it or whatever. But that problem has always kind of stuck with me, and I've been a little freaked by it. And so I get this new one, and I'm thinking, okay, please, please be okay. I've had serious problems with the wireless in this device,
really?
And
which one? This is the 9560?
It's the brand new one. Yeah. I'm a little freaked by this. So I'm not gonna ding them for that yet. I've just got it. I've been trying to use it a lot. So the thing I'll say about it is it's roughly comparable in size and weight and capability to the Spectre X360 15-inch that I also have.
I was going to ask. Yeah.
That one is a transforming laptop, so you can use it like a giant tablet. I would never do that, but I guess the advantage of that device is you could actually like the screen on the Dell can go like this. The screen on the HP, could go all the way around. You could lay it flat. You can do different things. So it's a little more versatile. Design is subjective. Some people will prefer the all-metal design of the HP. Some people will like the soft touch inside of the Dell. I think both of them have their merits.
It's plastic on the inside, right, of the Dell?
I wouldn't. No, I don't. Well, it probably ultimately is, but plastic makes it sound cheap. It's a soft touch material.
Okay.
Yeah. So the deck, the lid or the deck, I don't know what you call it, where the trackpad and the keyboard are, is made of a pliable kind of soft. Not soft. It's not the right word, but soft compared to metal kind of material. It's got a little bit of a nice push to it. It's nice. It feels nice. Expandability is about the same. The Dell has the one I have. And by the way, the one I have is super expensive. It's like it's a quad core i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM. It can go up to 32, by the way, which is very rare these days. It has a serious graphics processor. It's an NVIDIA, I think it's a GT, it's a 10 something. It's like it's the best mobile graphics processor I've ever seen, like graphics processor.
Really? Yeah, I mean, it's using the NVIDIA, what, the 1050?
Yeah. I think it's the 1050.
1050.
The HP is actually a pretty good game machine too, for a laptop. But I was playing Resident Evil on this thing last night, and I'd have to I didn't have them side by side, but it looks as good as the Xbox One version to me. I mean, it's really, and it plays as well. Like it's, I need to do more testing, but that's impressive. The screen is gorgeous. It's possible that HP and Dell are using exactly the same screen. It's same size, same 4K resolution, IPS, et cetera, et cetera.
What do they call it? Dell calls it what? The Infinity Edge?
It's Infinity something, yeah. Dell uses like a color calibration software that they provide to the user, where you can actually set the different modes for the screen, which I don't believe HP has at all. But the Dell ships with it in vibrant mode, and it's vibrant. I mean, it's one of those things you open it up and it's like, oh geez, like it's beautiful. It really is nice. The keyboard is not as good as on the HP. The HP is almost certainly the best portable PC keyboard I've ever used in my life. It's
what makes it not as good? Just the overall design or the feel?
Yeah, so it's everything. So it's plasticky.
Mm-hmm.
The keys have they're a little shallower. I think it's like a 1.3 versus a 1.5 millimeter key pitch. But you can, the HP is solid in a way that I've just never experienced before. Maybe Surface Book is close, but the Dell is a step back. The Dell is like going back to the way laptops were a couple years ago.
Okay.
Most people, by the way, wouldn't matter. We discussed earlier today, me and writing. I write a lot. So, I mean, for me, the typing experience is very important. The Dell trackpad is very good and, more important, uses the Microsoft Precision touchpad software that's built into Windows 10, which is superior.
Does the HP not use that?
No, it doesn't. They use Synaptics or whatever. And the HP trackpad's fine. The Dell is it's a smaller trackpad, which I prefer. It uses the Microsoft software, which I vastly prefer. I think I would give the edge to the Dell on the touchpad. So, it's like slightly better specs. Expandability is about the same. Dell uses it's not here, but Dell uses a proprietary power plug instead of USB-C. I find that to be a little old-fashioned, a little surprising. So it's kind of a toss-up, right now. I mean, they both have their pros. Mm-hmm. They both don't have too many cons, frankly. I mean, except that they're both very expensive, of course.
$17.99 for the model I'm looking at right now with the i7.
The one that I have is like $2,500 bucks. I think it's very expensive.
I mean, that is a lot.
Yep. The thing is decked. Yeah. Like I said, you could get 32 gigs of RAM in this thing, which is very unusual. Mine has 16. That's very typical. But and you can go up to a terabyte, obviously, of solid state. It's heavy too, by the way. This one is 4.5 pounds, which is very heavy.
Heavier than the HP.
Well, it's about the same. So 4.4 pounds for the HP. In both cases, though, one of the reasons it's so heavy, and it's dense, really, is what it is because they've stacked it with batteries. And so there's actually an option on the Dell to get a lower capacity, like a 45 watt hour battery. This one has like a 96-ish or whatever it is. It's more battery. And so I don't think with a 4K screen you're going to ever get 19 hours of battery life. But if you get this thing with like a 1080p display and the better battery, mm-hmm. it supposedly gets up to 19 hours of battery.
Wow. That's quite impressive.
Yeah. I mean, this one is not going to be that much. But if it's over 10, which it very well could be, for a 15-inch laptop, it's incredible.
That's amazing.
The one thing I'd say, like, let me see if I have this. Yeah. So the Dell is out in the other room, but these are big machines, right? So this is the HP. When you open up a machine that's this big, right, you can see it takes up a bunch of space. If you're in like a cramped airline seat, you're not gonna be able to use this computer. It's too big, right? But if you wanted to watch a movie on it, the one thing that's kind of neat about this is you can just stand it up flat because it literally lays flat. Okay. So you could stand it up in front of you like this, right? Okay. Lean it against the seat in front of you. The movie is playing up here on the bigger screen, and it works. That's great. Now with the Dell, that I don't have it here. I'm sorry, but I mean the screen basically tilts back about that.
Just a little bit. Well, like most laptops.
Like a normal laptop. There's nothing wrong with it. But I mean, in other words, but this is useless on a plane. Like if you're in coach like this with your plane, like yeah, you can't use it. So I'm not saying that's the reason to buy one or the other, but it's
interesting. I'm very curious about this because that was one of the laptops that I was looking at actually, and it's quite expensive, and I think I would go with the HP over this though. If I were to pick one. Yeah,
and by the way, the HP I just showed you is the old HP. It's not even a new one. So whatever. Anyway, it's the same basic design. Yeah. But I've been comparing all these things. So I've got a Surface Book performance base in here, an HP gaming laptop in Omen, which is also incredible in its own way. This is the old HP 15. I've got the newer one, which has that kind of ash gray and copper finish, which I think is really pretty.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Although it's fingerprint, you're gonna want. They actually gave me a sleeve with it, which I stuffed in the box. And
so what? To put the laptop in all the time?
Yeah, and I never do that with laptops. But actually, it's so beautiful, and it does get smudgy on the outside. Yeah. I could understand why people might want to.
Interesting. That's funny.
Sleeve. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, sorry, I know I beat this to death, but I'm not done yet. But my gut feeling is it's kind of a toss up overall. About which one is better. It's just going to depend on what's important to you. Like I love that the Dell has quad core, CPU, gaming graphics, killer battery life, and I wish the keyboard was better.
I think that's everybody. I wish the keyboard was better on 90% of the laptops I try.
Well,
that's why I'm still with the Mac.
The XPS has a killer keyboard, and the graphics are great. The screen's beautiful. The quality of the build is amazing.
Very excited. I'm excited to see what the end result is of your test.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I got to figure this out. I got all this stuff to review.
That's a great problem, though, right? I mean, here's a great thing, right? Yeah. PCs have improved so much over the last couple of years. These higher end, PC manufacturers are producing some great stuff. Where it's a tough call. Before, there was always one that stood out. Now, it's a whole range of them that kind of have a lot of perks and some cons, but overall, they're all pretty decent.
Yep.
You're not buying this giant Toshiba that's this thick anymore, to get performance. It's a major, major change. So I wanted to talk to you about this. YouTube is going after cable.
Oh, Andrew, I saw the story yesterday, and obviously, I thought of you. Actually, I thought enough about this one that I mentioned it to my wife because this is, my wife doesn't care about technology, but, in our off hours, at night, we'll grab a glass of wine and watch TV for a little while. And we do this every night. And, that we're home. And we sometimes talk about how this is going to change. Right. And I see in this YouTube service, finally, the possibility of the end of my cable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be YouTube. I think one of the beauties of what's happening right now, so whether it's this thing or, the Sony service or what's the other big one that just came out?
DirecTV Now.
DirecTV Now, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. Once you make this horrible break with the past, like once you finally walk away,
it's over.
It is over because switching between these services is going to be easy.
Yeah.
Like the only thing I want to pay FiOS for is the connection, right? I want to have the best connection that I can afford, and then I'm going to have some kind of a service like this. And so this YouTube thing is so interesting to me because they have this, cloud DVR thing, which, to be clear, is not cloud DVR. It's TV on demand, right? Which is effectively the same thing. In other words, I don't have to worry about recording, all 10 episodes of whatever goofy TV show I'm currently watching on my DVR, and it's literally sitting in a hard drive in a device in my living room. Instead, I've marked episodes, up in the cloud, and they don't keep a copy of it for me. They have a copy of it or whatever, and I get to watch it whenever I want. That stuff is awesome. But for me, I think the thing that's going to put this over the top is the local stuff, right? Local sports, especially. But just local content. And you'll probably be able to sample this a lot quicker than I can because you live in the New York area. And that's obviously the biggest market in the country. Boston is probably on the second or maybe even the third tier, from a size perspective. And so we'll see how long it is. But I have almost pulled the trigger on a few of these services already.
I'm telling you how they get you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is how they get you. First of all, I think the great thing about YouTube TV is the fact that you could have up to 6 simultaneous devices watching.
I know.
So that's already, that is an advantage because you can't do that with DirecTV Now and you can't do that with Sling TV. I do not think you could do that with PlayStation View either. So already they have an advantage here. Number 2, it's in the YouTube ecosystem and it's much easier once you're in there. You're in there. Hulu's now coming up with one. I'm curious to see how many devices Hulu will let you install. I'm willing to bet that you're going to be able to install the Hulu one on multiple devices as well.
Yeah. We do this with Netflix.
I'm sorry. It's 3 simultaneous streams, 6 accounts. That's what it is. 3 simultaneous streams, 6 accounts. So you could have one in your living room. You could have one, but 6 accounts.
Yeah, my daughter's upstairs and my son's in the basement and we're in the living room. And there's 3. I mean, it's perfect.
So $35 starting. If you want the sport package, if you want Fox Sports and all the other ones, you're going to have to pay a little bit more. Obviously, it's tiered. So here's how they get you.
Yeah.
You call up the cable company, because I did this when I got DirecTV Now. I was paying $35 a month. I called up the cable company, and I said, hey, guys, bye-bye. I want to be out of here.
Yep.
So I ended up negotiating my bill down to $140 a month, which is not bad, with my internet and my phone. But when I said, how much will it be to cancel, to just have the internet, they told me $100 a month.
Right. Well, by
At
the way,
end,
so
it costs the same, if not more, for me to leave
yes.
cable.
People, I don't remember the context of this, but the other day I mentioned somewhere something about landlines, and when I say landlines, I should like landlines, like with air quotes around them. We don't actually have landlines. Like there's not copper running into my house that connects to a phone system. That's not how things work anymore. But with Fios, which is Verizon, it's fiber into the house and it's copper in the house.
Yeah.
But the copper goes to a connector of some kind that puts it out over the fiber. So this, it's not. Yeah, right. It's magic as far as I'm concerned. But we have these phones in the house that are phones you would buy, like back in the Ma Bell days or whatever. Like they're just, they work with the phone connector in the wall, and that's what goes through the wall. I want to do exactly what you just described. But we've tried to make these steps where, we have cell phones. I mean, cell phones have capabilities that our home phone doesn't. We live in a dead zone, so that's a little bit of a trick. And so we would have to get like cell phone extenders for the house, but that's fine. It's a one-time cost, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went to Fios and said we have 2 lines because my wife uses one for work, and our bill was not going to go down.
Yeah. Nope.
So like, why not just keep it?
That's how they get you. So pretty much they.
Well,
I know the cable company doesn't want to be a dumb pipe, but at the end of the day, they're going to always be a dumb pipe, and then they're going to.
Yes.
But they're going to lock you in with these stupid services.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not going to play that game.
Yeah.
So the way you get around this is to leave, and you can come back later, right? And what I want from Fios or Comcast or whoever it's going to be, I don't care as long as it's fast, is the fastest possible connection. Like I said, I'll have to figure this out. Like my wife does the finances and stuff, but I don't know what our actual bill is. But we're sending a bunch of money to Verizon every month because we have our internet, our phones, and our TV service through Fios. And we have all of our cell phones through Verizon Wireless, except for mine. I'm on AT&T, and but we have 4 lines through there. So it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And what I want to do is just pay for internet. The cell phones will always be separate.
Yeah, but this is the game. Here's the game now, Paul. You're going to pay for internet.
Understand.
And then you want to watch sports. So you're going to probably get one of these services, right?
No. Right. I am going to get a service. That's what I mean. In other words, let's pretend it's going to be YouTube TV or whatever, right? So YouTube TV is $35 a month. I'm going to get the local sports package, whatever that might be, $10 a month, something. We do right now have premium channels like HBO, Show. I think we have everything actually right now. But I would pay for those on the fly, right? So for example, right now, like this month, I don't want HBO. I don't ever watch it. I don't need it. There's nothing on it that's happening right now that I care about.
You cancel,
So I don't use it. But in the future, I don't remember when it's happening, but let's say this fall or something, Game of Thrones is coming back. Now I will pay for HBO because now I want to watch that. And I think once you go to the internet service stuff, this becomes easy. This is the way everything works. Like for example, this is not accurate, but let's just pretend I only wanted to watch baseball. So I would turn on the sports package from April until the end of October or whatever. Mm-hmm. That would be the time frame. I'm not going to watch reruns of baseball games in the middle of the winter. So I wouldn't pay for that stuff then. I think that I realize you could probably do something like that with cable. Obviously you could, but this kind of thing is much easier to manage once everything's like an a la carte internet service, And the trick is figuring out, let's pretend that the internet only Fios or Comcast or whatever I was paying for, which was hopefully 100 megabits or something, is $100 a month.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's 135. Now it's 145. Now it's like added up. And of course we still pay for Netflix and there's all this crap, you spend money on, but hopefully that bill is less, right? But even if it's exactly the same, the advantage of doing this is so huge because it's portable, right?
Yeah.
You have, I know there are some abilities, but you have the ability to do this if I travel around the country. I have the ability to turn things on and off very easily. Again, I know you can sort of do that with cable, but once you make that step, everything just becomes easier. and changing if Apple comes out with an Apple TV service a year later that's way better and costs whatever it costs, I could say goodbye to Google or YouTube TV and go to Apple.
Go to someplace else. It's the flexibility, obviously, that really matters. We're still in this weird position where you're not getting. If I'm going to pay the same amount at the end, right? Which I probably will. It's going to be give or take a little close. Okay. I kind of want to get the best quality possible, and I'm not going to get that from YouTube TV. Unless YouTube TV is doing 1080, right? They're doing 1080 60, or they're doing 720 60 at a higher frame rate. And if anybody can handle it, obviously it's YouTube because they have all the pipes. Google has,
and that's, by the way, that's the big open question, isn't it? Like, what is the nowhere in that announcement did they discuss the quality of anything?
No. And
so,
and DirecTV and DirecTV had the highest quality. DirecTV Now. Overall, the highest bit rate stream,
Okay.
And they had said that they would possibly do 1080, but they weren't doing it currently. It was all 720. So I'm curious to see, does Google, say, you know what, hell with it, let's just open it up. They could possibly be the first service really that's doing 1080p at a higher frame rate, and making it actually like television for sporting events.
Well, yeah. So the way we're going to get screwed is they will offer higher quality over Google Fiber, which we don't have access to. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you could do like an all Google thing. I mean, you could do Project 5 for your
essentially
phone,
pretty much
Google Fiber at home, and YouTube TV for entertainment, and your money is all being funneled to Google, and they're using their maniac computer science Bond villain technologies to keep it as cheap as possible, right? I mean, it's insidious, but it's wonderful.
So I'm going to ask a question to the chat room. We got about 120 people in here right now. Here's my question. I want to know what your internet speeds are. I'm curious. Yeah. You're downloading your upload, because I've asked this a couple times in the past, and I'm actually astonished how low some of these speeds are. So if you're in the chat room, post it, and I'm curious. So Padunk says Charter 65 down, 2 up.
2 up, Jesus.
Yeah.
Mine is 80 over 80, by the way. But I have been procrastinating on just bumping this. I could bump it to 100 for, I think it's like $5 more a month or some stupid thing.
Let's see if I could pull it up here and I could see it might be easier for me to do it this way. Here we go. Charter 65 down, 2 up. Comcast 25, 6. 300 down, 25 up Comcast. 11 down, 1 up here in the UK. 120 down, 30 up. 50 by 10. 100 up and down. Google Fiber. Rick has Google Fiber. Comcast 100 down. 25 by 6.
The Google Fiber guy, that was 100 over 100?
No, the Google Fiber guy, I guess it's a gigabit.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm surprised it wasn't way higher. Okay.
Yeah. 60 by 8. Fios Delaware 50 by 50. ADSL 4 by 256. 4 megabits by 256 kbps. 125 by 20 Suncast. Fios at work 150 symmetrical. 70 megabit 7 megs UK. Comcast 48 by 12. I have DSL. Don't even ask. Bright House Charter 30 by 3. So I mean, it's much better than the 15 by 5s that we saw 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah, but there's still way too much disparity between up and down, and that's the thing I don't understand. This is like the Comcast people, right?
Because you're all criminals, and you're gonna create FTP servers and pirate.
These guys got to figure this stuff out. I feel very strongly that having the same speed in both directions is a big part of making this work.
Yeah. Symmetrical, man.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yep. It's a very interesting discussion to have. So before we wrap it up and go into our bonus show, which we are going to do a Throwback Thursday for the bonus show, and I have something I really want to talk about, and Paul has it on his website. If you read therot.com, you would know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, stay tuned and you're going to see. I'm getting this cool little device. It's called the Sense.
Yeah.
They're sending it over. I believe they're going to send you one as well. And what this does, it's a very different approach to monitoring your home energy. Most of the time when we see these devices, you are connecting it to an outlet or to a room or to, a strip. This one actually connects to your panel, your electrical panel.
Right.
I'm trying to find the demo video of how it works, but you connect it to your electrical panel. Somebody does it. It connects over Wi-Fi, and the longer you run it, the more information it gathers, and it's smart enough, apparently, to determine what devices are what. I have the video here.
You hear that?
Let's see. I don't have to play the actual music of it, but essentially what it does
So
is that
I'm curious how this even understands what the various devices are.
I think it's programmed to know how much. So this is how it connects, actually. It's programmed to know what's drawing what, right? So it knows based on averages how much power it's required to run your air conditioner. So it determines, okay, this has to be an air conditioner. So it'll say, do you think this is an air conditioner? If it like questions it. So it knows how much power computers use. It knows how much power certain things use. So it's able to determine it, like your TV. But I'm curious to know how it determines what it's drawing out of a power switch, like a power strip. Because would that show as one source? You know? So they're sending one over. They also told me that I should hire an electrician to install this. I probably could install it myself because I do some electrical work. But I'm going to go throughout the entire thing and just hire an electrician to do it. They give me a voucher to do, hire an electrician. Yeah. And the longer you use it, and they said run it for a couple of weeks because the longer you use it, the smarter it gets because it knows your habits.
This is going to be an easy sell. My wife will want us to have this. Like, this is something she's very interested in, and we had we had a hot tub for many years, for example, and for the last few years we didn't really use it. I mean, and for many years before that, we only used it in the winter. But you have to kind of leave the thing running on kind of a low hum. Yeah. So we sold it, last year sometime. I don't know, but my wife has been monitoring our monthly bill to see what the difference is in the price, right, year over year. And in the winter, it has been like, I don't even want to say it's embarrassing, but it's like these things really cost a lot of money. It's like not a very efficient thing to do. We were basically heating the outside with this.
Wow.
That's what so this is fascinating. This is really interesting.
Now there are other ones out there. This isn't the only one, right? There are many other ones. There's the Nero. I think it's called Nero. And they're about $200. These guys are about $200, $300. But I'm very, very curious to see what it actually determines. Because from what I know, based on its monitoring, it's able to kind of reduce your bill down by 20%, which I could definitely use. From the overall averages I was reading, this one does not require, some of them require some cutting of wires. I don't know. I got to read more about how this is going to install, but I'm very, very excited to get this going to see how it works and how well it works. Because I know many of our audience members, they are fans of smart homes. I don't know if it works with Smart Things. I actually emailed Smart Things yesterday asking questions about it. And I'm just curious to see how well it works because we might actually benefit a lot by this because I've gotten more into the whole home automation and knowing. Yeah. Right. But I do like the fact that, oh, by the way, smart home is not required. You don't need any smart home application to do this. I'm going to look at this. Does it rely on sensors? Sense only relies on 2 current sensors attached to service main of your breaker panel. Sense does not require smart appliances, device-level sensors, or sensors attached to the circuit. It's very interesting. Let's see what happens. I'm very curious to see if it actually works well. If not, listen, it's a review, so I'll be honest about it. It's $299, actually, the device. So I just wanted to mention that before we ended the show because I should be getting this within the next week, and I'll make a video installing it and telling you guys how the process is, and then we'll go from there. The longer it runs, the better it is. Guys, that's it for this week. If you're watching live, stay tuned. We're going to do our bonus show, exclusively available on patreon.com/whatthetech. You could go watch it there. Fund us. Also, if you're buying stuff on Amazon, make sure you use our link. gfq.co/Amazon, bookmark it. Whenever you buy something, we get a small little credit from the sale. It helps us out, obviously, here. all things Paul, go to Paul's website. Go to paul@therot.com. You don't have paul@therot.com. What do you do? I don't know. Go to therot.com. Go sign up for the premium service. You can follow Paul at Therot. You can follow me at Andrew Zarian. I would also like to thank our sponsor, hover.com. Go to hover.com/WTT and get 10% off your first purchase. Guys, go there, help them out, support us, and sign up for Hover because they are a great, great service. And that's it for this week, guys. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.